Jetlag hasn't done a race since Season 8's Arctic Escape. We're now approaching the end of Season 17, so more than half of the show has gone by without a race game. What happened? Can we count on them doing another one? And should they do another one? All of this will be answered and more. Let's do a quick recap first. In the first 2 years of the show, Jetlag had 3 race seasons. Season 2's Circumnavigation, Season 5's Race to the End of the World, and Season 8's Arctic Escape, which were races around the world, down New Zealand, and across the United States. The reception to these 3 games vary, but I don't think any of them are as loved as the first 2 tag seasons or Hide and Seek Japan. Circumnavigation was generally considered the worst season of the show, at least until Snake gave it a run for its money. I won't go into too much detail because I think this season deserves its own full video, dependent, of course, on whether you subscribe. Since this video is about racing though, let's talk about how the race aspects of the game worked. The game was played when a lot of COVID restrictions were still in place, meaning that a lot of countries wouldn't allow players in. While it was easy for players to get from North America to Europe, because there were so many flights, and they could use clever moves to cross the Atlantic quickly and cheaply, getting from Europe to East Asia was much more tricky. Furthermore, because the plane flights were so long, this meant that there were times when one team was on one long plane ride and the other team was doing a lot of challenges. Something that the game designers would try to avoid later. This problem would become much more noticeable in Arctic Escape. Frequently, one team would be doing challenges while the other team would avoid doing challenges, either because they were on a flight or because it was strategically the better move. This created an uneven game. Arctic Escape was a game that tried to improve on several of the flaws of circumnavigation. They switched from using real currency to using a ticket system called the Flop, where you get tickets to use transport by completing a challenge. The goal was to make it more difficult to piece together a route from Utqiagvik to Key West, because there were so many limitations on what you could do with each ticket, and to encourage players to go to obscure places. Because circumnavigation required long flights, it was only played in large cities or popular vacation spots. Arctic Escape's design made it so that teams had to travel to small towns or rural areas. To do this, they had train and car tickets as well as plane tickets. This worked only okay though, because you still need to take a lot of planes to successfully cross the United States in a couple days, so the train and road tickets were only used a few times. Arctic Escape gets a varied reception, but it tends to be ranked as a mid-tier season. But I've also seen it near the top or near the bottom of lists. Race to the End of the World, or the New Zealand Aotearoa season, is also a divisive one, with a lot of people liking it quite a bit, but others not so much. Most people seem to like it though, and I personally think it's amazing. I know there are a few fans who don't like how the game board was mapped onto the roads, but I personally don't mind. The fact that the routes were pre-planned means that challenges could be tailored to specific locations, and because they were able to pack heavy, they could do things like sandboarding, and they had access to awe-inspiring, beautiful places. You might even say, perfect places. Like, this season might as well have been an ad for the Aotearoa tourism board. Plus, the fact that there were so many challenges that had to be completed meant that both teams were consistently occupied, preventing the same issues that popped up in the other 2 seasons. As said before, Season 8 was the last race season. Wanna guess what Season 9 was?
Hello! This is where I'm hiding. Good luck finding me here.
So yeah, Hide and Seek has taken over the slots that used to go to the racing games. I've already talked about those seasons in another video, but basically put, they're pretty well liked. It makes perfect sense that the team would prioritize Hide and Seek as a game format over the more controversial races, but maybe they could give it another try? Doing races on planes has proven pretty difficult. Besides the fact that the plane schedules make these games fairly solvable, there's also the issue of distance. You need to travel a long ways to make a plane season work. Trying to do circumnavigation again would be difficult because, well, they had to skirt immigration law the last time they played. United States is a big country that works for a plane race, but where else could they do it? I've seen and suggested the Schengen area as one possibility. China and Russia can't be done for political reasons, and what other countries could work? Canada? Maybe, but so much of the population being so close to the US probably makes the game more linear. I don't know if it's gonna work. Though again, if there's enough demand, I might give my thoughts on how to fix circumnavigation. Racing with cars, like in the Aotearoa game, however, is something I can see working a lot better. The game designers have said that creating this map was a necessity because of the lack of public transit options. And I imagine there's a lot of other places that would love a spotlight season that don't necessarily have those to back it up. Maybe Peru? The car race format has another benefit. In the layover, the team has discussed how there are countries that you could make a planned vacation to, but you can't necessarily have the spontaneity that jet lag usually requires. Well, maybe this is a solution. Just draw the map so it goes on routes that the players feel comfortable with and go from there. Obviously, I don't want anyone to go anywhere that's unsafe. I just want to propose this as a possible solution. I have noticed one benefit that races tend to have. Their structure often leads to great challenges. I'm not sure how coincidental this is or not. However, challenges from Season 2 and 5 were on Adam's layover Family Feud, so that must be a good sign. Because circumnavigation by necessity had players go to big airports, and therefore big or exciting cities, they could do very exciting challenges like bungee jumping. Challenges from Aotearoa had the aforementioned advantage of being location-specific and tailored to show off the beauty of the location. Antarctic Escape had the advantage of a daring guest, and challenges in the starting location had the added intensity of there being polar bears in the area. As of this writing, we don't know what Season 18 is going to be. Maybe another race? If so, I still think that the 10-season gap shows that the race format hasn't had as strong as results as Tag, Hide and Seek, or the Claimers. But who knows, maybe one day we'll get another race.